Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LJL Officially Unofficial Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. No, wait. No.
Season 3.
I've been here so long, Nymaera. What season is this?
I believe it's season 3. It's been a long time.
Oh.
We've seen the monsoon rains come and go and come again, and we're left here.
Season 3, Episode 2, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I am one of your two of your lovely co-hosts for this evening's episode of the podcast. Alex, otherwise known as MaskedSwan. My constant man that is on the opposite side of your lovely screens, typically, is Nymaera. Hello, sir.
That's me. Hello. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still Elton Johning over here. That's me. Hi.
That's the technical term, isn't it?
That's the one. Yep. Still standing.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest for episode 2 of this podcast, and it is Lonely Hikamori. Welcome, Hina.
Oh, I'm very pleasured to be here. It's a big honor
It is
to be able to be in the podcast
I know.
for
It's
region
crazy.
with the best daily carry, Yuhi. That's what I want to say.
And thank you so much, everybody, for this episode of the podcast. That's what we're gonna have to. No, of course not. Burning Core, new lineup, you support players and everything else. Like, I mean, a bit of the old, bit of the new. I want to just touch on that, Hina, as you're a huge Burning Core fan. Why are you a huge Burning Core fan? What is the reason to be a fan of
What
last place
drove
teams?
you to do this?
Yeah.
That's a misconception. I actually root for CGA. I just am a Yuhi fan. It's like it's a side job. But full time I'm a CGA fan ever since Nemo moved. Now, if Yuhi and Nemo was in the same theme, that's a different question.
So it's not even like you're suffering through Yuhi for Burning Core. It's just you like Yuhi. That just seems so horrifying. I'm so sorry for you.
Does that make it better or worse, though? That's the question, Nymaera.
I mean, you know my opinions on Yuhi, so as do most people in our circle. It's lovely to have you here, Hina. Thank you for joining us. Seriously.
Thank you. Yeah, special guests. And a long line of special guests. We've had Melvin Izzle, Temporal on for full episodes, and now you coming along. So welcome. We love to have you. And you are actually rather like you were doing your own thing, LJL-wise. So why don't you introduce people of like why you follow the LJL and a bit of trivia about yourself?
I have been following LJL actually not super long.
Okay.
Like when I started watching League of Legends in general, I remember it was like just when the new map came out. It's like I was playing on the old map a little, and then the new map came out. Yeah, it is kind of like,
yeah.
I think I started playing before season 5 because I remember I went to the World's Finals in season 5. And at that time, I loved LCK. I loved LCK. I was actually kind of rooting for Cool Tigers in the finals, but it was nonetheless a great finals. So that was my first experience in the League of Legends scene. And it was about like a few years ago when I was like, maybe I should like check out like what my own region does. Like how are they doing and what's happening in there. And that's when I fell in love with the LJL. And I have been very invested for the last split. I was translating all the player interviews. And even before that, I was translating some, like, for example, when DFM won the spring split and went to MSI, I was following them, translating all that stuff. And also their winner interview. So I guess like ever since then, I'm really trying to bridge this gap that there is between the Japanese players, the LJL players, who are actually super active sometimes on streams, not super frequently during the season, but in the off season they stream a lot. And like on Twitter, they interact with each other. They're friends. Most like there are like these actually big friend groups among them. So there's all this interaction that I think like super fun. And this is obviously because like most of the Japanese players are only doing this in Japanese, obviously, and there is not super much interaction with like the outside world, kind of. They watch LEC.
Oh, it's all within.
Yeah.
So they watch LEC and LCK most of the time, but it's still like it's kind of like a one directional communication. It's not really there is like any.
You
bridge
don't have
unless...
like the bridge.
Yeah. And that's what I wanna gap and hopefully bring those players closer to the fans, the global fans, and the global fans to those players as well. And hopefully they're gonna know each other and support each other.
Well, absolutely. We'll hopefully get to see far more of those teams and players in question. But for anyone that's new to this podcast, hello everybody, this is the LJL podcast. Myself, Initializer, and Nymaera have been doing this for coming up, Nymaera, to 100 episodes.
That's crazy. Yeah,
We're a bit off, yeah. We will hit this. We will hit
Yeah,
100
I think
this
we've managed to
season.
get like about 35 episodes per season. So
Yeah.
between the two of them, we're about 70 something. So yeah, by the end of this season, we should get to episode 100, and that'll be pretty crazy considering the amount of dedication and time we put into it.
Oh, absolutely. But if you like what you're hearing, or you're just interested in more LJL news content and in general thing, go onto your audio streaming app of your choice, ladies and gentlemen, and hit that download button. Rate us 5 stars. Do all that lovely good stuff.
Yay.
Or if you're a video watcher, either via the Twitch link, which obviously if you're watching our Twitch VOD, hello, welcome. Or if you're over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, like us, comment at us, and more importantly, if you've got any questions for us, join our lovely Discord community. All three of us are very active in that Discord community, as well as also you can ask us podcast questions.
Yes, I say, Hina's probably more active than most of us in that too, because Hina's really.
I've only just kept the first spot, man. Like, let me have it for another month.
There's that, and then
it's not my fault. There is a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, Chibo's actually overtaken me on the Discord, which is pretty crazy.
Oh, damn. And Hina's second. Hina's just like straight gone to second place. Yeah, you are. My first place spot of most messages sent feels a bit in jeopardy.
Flimsy.
Yeah. But with that said, like, comment, subscribe, or if you are a Twitter user, hashtag ask us questions or any of your thoughts around the podcast at hashtag LJL podcast. We'd love to hear from you. But with that said, we've given Hina a lovely introduction. I think we just kind of start pulling.
Should we get into it?
Yeah, I think we just get straight into it. And one of the first things we are here to cover is actually maybe one of the biggest things to come out of the LJL news-wise. I don't know, really, maybe of the last year or two? Really, since Yutori Muashi retired and then stepped down into a coaching role. Player-wise, yes, we had a huge amount of changes. Yes, Arya leaving was very sad, but it was moving on for the future and bigger, and we all kind of knew it was going to happen. Nymaera, what's happened?
So the longest active player on one roster, besides Faker, was Saros. It was Saros because Saros was 2 days ahead of Utah.
That's right. Yeah.
Saros has now finally decided to hang up the mouse and keyboard and not register again as a player. So Saros has gone to a coaching position on DFM, still within the esports scene, but Saros will not be an active player for the first time since 2013, which is really strange to think about because Saros is. I have to say, I think if Saros subbed into the mid lane, even in this split, he'd be top. He'd be top 4 or 5. He's a really good player. He always has been. I secretly hoped for one last hurrah from the player, but not to be. Maybe we'll get a Kazu where he unretires and comes back. But yeah, Saros for now has decided to call it quits.
What was your reaction when you first heard that, Hina?
I mean, I'm not saying I was expecting it in a way, but there were definitely signs other than just like obviously with Arya on the roster and we're knowing that they're looking for another mid laner. It was like kind of like not obvious, but we knew that he was at least gonna be a sub. And he opened his YouTube channel like his own YouTube channel. I think maybe a month ago. So he was definitely moving towards this like content creation. He was uploading guides, by the way, kind of similar to what Abby does. But he was uploading guides, so it was already like kind of apparent that he is moving towards this like coaching style of videos, coaching style of like job. And so yeah, it was kind of like I was expecting it. It was very sad to see, like, especially when you watch the video, he was talking about how like obviously this BFM focusing on how Detonation joined them later on. So just listening to his whole story is very emotional. Kind of like just looking back at his legacy. But yeah, it was. I'm still very happy that he's gonna be on stage since he's actually a coach. It also came out alongside the roster, like the head coach is Kazu, and the coach is gonna be Saros. So he's gonna be on the stage as well whenever there is stage. But he's still gonna be there. He's still gonna be part of the team. It's kind of like in the same fashion as like last year. He was
It's exactly
also
what he
going
was
to
doing
like
anyway. Yep.
yeah, and he was also like a member of the community. He was said to Yaharon, the new millionaire, he's gonna teach him Heimer and Zix. So he's still like part of the community in a way. It's not like he left entirely the whole
God,
scene.
imagine if like a player like Yaharon who has hands actually learns things like that and has that in their back pocket. That sounds so terrifying if like on the world scale like stage. And we're already and actually I'm gonna derail the podcast, and I always do this.
Do it.
Janna Top has become a typical topic of conversation around the meta. Karma Top. We saw FlyQuest do this to results. What about if Heimerdinger mid becomes like meta again and it's actually good? Because at a point, when does something stop being good and just non-meta, right? And if you're kind of hearing where I'm going with this, so like just because it's not meta, but it still works, does that explicitly make it bad or just unconventional?
So there are plenty of things which are not like current meta, but are still good. But they have such an absurd amount of practice required as a team or as an individual to make it work that it's not efficient to play that stuff. So, for instance, I've actually thought that Ari's been meta for a long time in a set. Well, been viable, right?
Oh, if you had been in servers with him, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you.
Yeah, so I genuinely think that Ari is viable, but it's just why would you play that when it takes so much practice compared to other stuff which kind of does the similar kind of thing? With the Heimerdinger and stuff like that, I think there's a real niche where it doesn't get covered by other champions. That's why I think that's quite viable in some ways. If you want to put in that extra time to pick up that strategy, I can see the value in it.
I guess we'll have to see, right? What about you, Hina?
As for like just the Janna Top and like the enchanters, that's something that I have a feeling Riot is gonna nerf. I have to say, I actually like it. I like the cheese ideas. Like I like like pulling enchanters top, like whatever. I like this like creativity in the game, and I'm so sad, but I know Riot is gonna nerf it. It's kind of easy to nerf, just like you can't buy support items as a jungler if you have smite or something. It's like kind of easy to nerf, in a way. And I know Riot is gonna get rid of it, which I'm sad. But if there is like a little light there, I'm not sure if you guys code that, but Alice was talking about like when the whole Cloud9, like the Korea 9 Cloud9 was still in Korea and screaming with other teams. He mentioned he was screaming with Japanese teams as well. And I would love to see some like cheese picks from Japanese teams, just like not necessarily the
I'm
Iron
almost certain one of the LJL teams will be playing this stuff. I haven't decided quite yet on who would be doing that, but there's a lot. I mean, it would have been V3 last year that would have done it.
Would have been,
I don't know who will pull out this time. It might be Rascal Jester. I feel like they'd be the team to do it.
But it's not the same version of Rascal Jester from 2020 anymore.
Well, that's the thing. I know it was already weak side. Just don't give him any farms.
Yeah, he was Giga weak. Yeah.
But look at me in DFM as well. We already know Kazu is super open to weird ideas. He said himself that he's a troll. He literally said that he likes trolling. And now the troll is also
the assistant coach as well. Like it's...
yes.
So the thing is, like, I just don't. It's just that Ebby has never really been quick to pick up new champions, or he's been inconsistent with picking up new champions. It's a bit of a dice roll.
I can play Nah. What do you mean, Nymaera? Nah.
He can play Nah and Urgot, and he's gonna keep doing that until the end of his existence. So yeah, I feel like DFM. It's a very dice roll if they actually pick that stuff up. But yeah, I reckon that the LGL will pick up one or two teams doing that. Yeah.
One thing I think it's a guarantee. And actually, perfect transition to that, to something that's not on our list, but we absolutely need to talk about before we get to the meat and potatoes of this podcast episode. The Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, ladies and gentlemen, finally blessed us with their full roster announcement, which we had been waiting with bated breath, and I think we've all three of us tweeted about when the roster announcement came out. But let's talk about it. In the top lane is going to be Kinatu, former Rascal Jester's top laner, that rookie as well, coming in, an MVP of the LJL OU rookie of the split, the season actually. Blank has returned to the region. That is the same, the Blank Knight and everything. Dasher has stayed in the mid lane for a third season in a row. Mental to see a player retained for that long for one org.
Well, I mean, technically he was on USG, which
he was so he's never
the
left.
Same slot. Still the same slot, yeah. So he's kind of stuck on the same technical slot for ages, yeah.
We've got that elusive player that we thought might fall through the cracks of Marble in the AD carry role, and Rainer, the high school senior that has never stopped playing since he was a 16-year-old. He's come through the ranks before anybody else did, and also represented at Worlds. So we've got two players who have been to Worlds. Obviously, Blank never with the LJL, but obviously more story than any other player. He has been there, yes. Yes. Actually, has Dasher been?
No.
No, he's never been to Worlds. But I mean, talking about super teams, we were amping this up, weren't we, Nymaera, last episode? This was maybe the super team that could rival DFM and like Sengoku if everything comes together for some of these rosters, Jesters as well. They're the three teams we're really looking at. What was your immediate reaction when you saw the Hawks?
So my immediate thought was, because the first post I saw is Tussle has re-signed. I'm like, that's not a great start. Tussle's like not super team material. He had a really off couple of years. So basically Tussle is signed on as a coach, effectively, same as Saros. So Tussle is also one of the real OGs of the scene.
Yeah.
So it's great to kind of use that veterancy in one way. I do think he would have been a much worse candidate than Blank, so I'm glad to see that Blank has come back in. I think that this team is, on paper, if they mesh well, going to be contending for top 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in that same kind of place. What about you, Hina?
I'm not gonna spoil everything because I think I have some hot takes in my like in my power rankings. But I feel like on paper, like just like coming just from names, if you look at the names, I think they should be maybe even like top 2 or definitely
maybe.
Like I can even argue for the best. The only reason I don't necessarily want to say they're definitely the best is because they have obviously a rookie AD carry who has only played in academy, really well, but still,
like don't get me wrong. I think you're bang right to identify that as the one weak spot on the whole map, because let's be real, Dasher was unquestionably the second best and the only player to really take it to Aria consistently. So I think I'm pretty we've hit that one. Blank was the second or best jungler depending on the game day a lot of the time when Boogie was around and Steel were both fighting one another. Blank was always in that conversation. I think actually, Nymaera, we sometimes rated him higher than Steel, didn't we?
I did, yeah. Sam really likes Steel, and there are reasons for that. Blank has a particular style of play, which is kind of like once, but turned up to the max. Like he's, again, very aggressive, very about playing off of strong lanes. And I think that has been punished before. If you look at his last 2 series in summer 2020, Blank had a bad time of it. Now, that wasn't just Blank that had a hard time of it. Everyone was kind of suffering at that point. But yes, Blank. I think that Blank with Dasher, as Dasher being so solid, that is a hell of a core, regardless of even the other players. So yeah, I'm really excited to see Blank back. I think he could really make a dent again.
Yeah, and Kanatu to just kind of end that train of players off was just insane. The only player to really push Ebby and kind of was that fresh-faced rookie. No, but he was the rookie that kind of pushed. And like it's not to discredit any of the other top laners. I mean, a Cog, we'll have to talk about him in a moment after the Hawks. But Hinatu was like just the fact that he hit the ground running so hard and would play things like Camille and stuff, which were things you and me, Nymaera, was screaming for all of 2020.
Yeah,
Like no one wanted it.
There's a lot of top lane players in the LJL are not that bold. They will play Aatrox and they will play Gnar and they will play Ornn. And then like we didn't really have that many people who'd be willing to go towards carries or play carries aggressively. Because we saw like Paz play Camille. Afterman played a bit of it. None of them really impressed me. It was basically just Rayfarky, Ebby, and like Hog who were the real upper echelon, and no one was really touching them for a while. Afterman fell off a bit, so I don't necessarily include him in that list. And Paz, again, similarly after 2020, kind of fell off a bit. But yeah, so to see Kanatsu come in this last season, solo kill Ebby and just kind of take Ebby's ego into account and just solo kill him, that was really cool.
But bring it back to where Hina set us up for that point, the bot lane. Reiner had an off year. He had an off year. I think that's fair to say. It wasn't a bad year, but considering he was
for him it was.
Second, he was like first or second in our 2020 power rankings, only behind
as overall
Gang.
players.
Yes.
Like, second best player in the region in 2020.
Yes.
Obviously, that's one thing. I kind of like would want like just a little point there. I'm not sure how much it affected, but like V3 wasn't necessarily the most stable as like a team last year.
No.
They had inside the game problems, outside the game problems. They had a lot of problems just in the team as well.
I mean, so the whole roster got dropped eventually, so yeah, that team was burning. It was on fire. Yeah.
But, I mean, Marble has got some big names to fight against, and the teams that we've already highlighted, I mean, imagine when you're being compared to Utapon as a direct Japanese native comparison, as a rookie as well. That's your direct competition to beat. Fuck, he just did really well at Worlds. He had a great Worlds showing. Honey, who was the overall MVP over Aria. Like, what the fuck can you do? Oh, and then Sol, who got third. Who got third in our overall AD carries. Like, that is a sin to say all-pro Sol 3. But he's... Nymaera.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this roster of the Hawks, I'm like, I think at peak, all of these players could be, at peak, minimum top 3. I would say top 2 at a push, actually, depending on other people. The one which is the real question mark is Marble, about how he competes on this level. There's a lot of room for maneuver there. But the problem is, looking at how... I think my one worry with this team is that outside of Dasher, everyone's lower limit, if things go like real low roll, is also quite low. So that's my one worry for this team. I think they could collapse. They could explode. Just, Hawk feathers just flying left, right, center.
I put that at like a 20% chance. I'm not...
It's quite high, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 20% that they completely boom. There's like a 50% where they just kind of hit top 4, top 3. And then there is that like other copium, where they go better. But before we go into power rankings and our last topic, before we actually get into it properly, we touched on this one player. Cog doesn't have a team going into the 2022 split, and the fact that he was such a highly important player for V3 Esports, the fact that he was that one member of Rascal Jesters in 2020, and he's a seasoned player in the LJL.
He started playing in 2013-14. Actually, Hina, can you remember when Cog started playing properly? Was it
out of my head? No. I'm very fast in opening up LoL PD, but top of my head, no.
Because I seem to remember, because there was a point in the spring finals when V3 made it there, we realized that Cog had like never beaten Ebby or something, or like, oh no, that was in summer 2020, because like he actually had a pretty good run.
Yeah, he's been playing since December 2013.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that because he wasn't on the victorious V3 roster as well in summer 2020. Like Cog had like...
He was on Rascal Jester at that point.
I'm pretty sure that Cog had never beaten, or like had only beaten Ebby once in one best of 3 back in 2014 or something, and then like had never won against him in 50 games. It was really crazy, even though individually he was doing fine. But yeah, Cog has played around the LJL for such a long time, and he was been so solid for all of that. I find it really sad. 2014, right. I find it really sad that he's not been picked up because I would have said last year he was the second best top laner. I know that you like Kanatsu, but he was minimum top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not, and
yeah.
we're talking like minutia, preference, and stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
all of that stuff. So yeah, it's worth touching it on because damn you LJL, give us our cog.
Yeah, and in a season where it kind of made more sense for some players like Apperman to retire because he had a child come along, and also he just wasn't going to have as much time, and he was looking to maybe transition into a different role. Cog wasn't bad, and he's also like he's not super old. Yeah, he's 26, but he's not super old. So I mean, I feel like he could definitely have room, and he could probably still be a top 4. Like I hate to call out other players, but there are players currently playing in the LJL who I am surprised are getting a spot over Cog. That's all I'll say.
Sam, don't ignore me. I need a cuppa. Oh, okay, all right. He's running back to do a cast. Sam just walked in. He just looked at me, waved at me, and like, tea? And he just walked off because he's got a cast. Okay, all right, that's that. Anyway, yeah, I'm sad about Cog. It is what it is. It's the LJL's off season. Lots of players get spurned for reasons beyond my knowledge, and it makes me sad.
I'm actually going to throw this last section before we go on to our power rankings over to Hina, because she was the one that actually informed me, and I don't know about you, Nymaera, about the revision that is happening to the Korean players to make them play over in Japan. Hina, I believe you know a bit more about this than us, and if I was going to start doing it, I'd be talking out my butt, so please explain what's going on.
Disclaimer, I'm not totally informed at the moment because there is the DFM had a fan meet yesterday that I haven't had time to watch just yet. Probably I'm gonna tomorrow or today. They had a fan meet, which I mean you could see that there are obviously the Japanese players and still in one room, and the 2 new players in a different room. Now, it's definitely sure that the teams are not together yet. It has been confirmed by many members. Like, I think Nemo was saying that the new members are not in the gaming house. It was also confirmed. Like a lot of teams, it's obvious. Like the new
he
Korean
accidentally
players.
leaked it.
No, that is Skinat who leaked it accidentally.
Oh yeah.
That's another fun story. But basically, we know that the new Korean players are not there now. I am not a lawyer. I don't know laws. As far as I'm aware, and as far as the very intelligent people of 5chan told me, basically, right now, you can't really enter Japan unless you're re-entering, just with like special visas. And as far as I know, I'm not following baseball, but some people say even baseball players can't get into the country, which is like a little bit bigger sport in Japan than esports. So even baseball players can't get into Japan at the moment. That's the situation I know. With that being said, some players who have been in Japan before and still has a visa, they can re-enter in some circumstances, obviously like quarantine and all those stuffs. But for example, Secret is there. We all know that because there was like a shot from I think he and Seoul was like in an airport and they just like, hey, we are coming back to Japan. So they are there. We know that. As for the new players, they were in a different room. Now, some people say that it may be a quarantine because I think now it's a 14 days quarantine, like a self quarantine. It's not in a hotel; it's like self quarantine, but still like 14 days. Like in Japan right now. Some people say that they may be in quarantine, but some people even saying that no, it's just they are still in Korea. There's no way to enter Japan at the moment.
There's been no official communication, which is kind of worrying. So the reason I would say that this is complete speculation, but normally you don't make an official comment when things aren't decided yet. If something had been decided, I would imagine there would have been more communication. If this is a communication between Riot Japan and the teams, that makes things complicated again because it's not on the teams to announce at that point, it's on Riot Japan. Now, we're only a couple of days away from the season start. We knew it was remote anyway, so that doesn't necessarily change the way the broadcast is going to happen. But yeah, you can understand that like if things are changing quite short time frames, we don't expect clear communication until the day of the event, actually, probably, or the day
and it's like not impossible in like a rule stuff because LCS, for example, is already having this. Like, I'm not sure if you guys know it or not, but like even in the finals, like in the lock-in finals, Björkson was not playing with the team. He was like just separated. And so it's possible still. I mean, there's also the question of ping, which is not very good. I think like about like 30, 40, which is it can be a question. I think it would make sense if like a team could decide if they are like they would either want like maybe they could choose from like either use a substitute with local pings and everything, or just like use like just it's your responsibility if your player is playing on a 40 ping. Maybe they could do this. It's one of those situations when like none of the like the presented options are super good. So I'm not sure. And on a side note, Riot Korea is definitely not having it easy either. Not two teams are under like tested positive. So
Well,
yeah, it's very hard.
DRX is having to sub in most of their academy team
Same
because they're
same
moving
for
to
Nongshim.
Nongshim as
Same for
well.
yeah. So both of those organizations like super not having it easy right now. So I can also imagine just there was no communication because they literally didn't have time for communicating anything. It's entirely possible. I can see that. I expect honestly if we just find out on the day.
Probably.
I definitely
That's what
see
I'm
this
thinking.
happening.
Anyway, just so you're informed, no one's informed.
Yes.
That's
There can be
pretty
some
much it.
information. I would be very surprised if the DFM fan me didn't talk about this because it's like obviously a big topic. So there can be some information which you can read on our Discord server later on when I actually watch this.
Oh, I love the plug there. Love the plug. Join, people. Join. Right.
Right.
It's time to get in to the real meat and potatoes of this one. This is where we get all
time for the real battle, as
This
Proxy
is-
Wolf would say it.
Oh, it is. Yes, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, myself, Nymaera, and Hina have prepared our power rankings on where we are predicting. Now, actually, I should come to both of you. Is this your end of season or end of spring?
Spring.
So
I'm gonna defend myself. Spring.
So for me, this is actually start of spring for me. This is much earlier. So this is more like in towards mid split. We might see some changes, but this is more like raw thoughts coming straight into it.
Okay. Well, let's begin. Oh, Nymaera. Oh, yes. There we go. Yep. Let's all begin with showing. So just so you're aware, both of you, I am going to now transition over. We got a live window capture. All right.
Okay.
So
anything I do here is just like
it will now be set on screen, so it can be seen. Yes. That is seen.
Good.
So just so we're all aware, I am going to.
I'm
do
initialized
this.
on the screen. How guys?
I know we're all initialized, and so's my wife. In 8th place. Oh my God, Nymaera, you've done the double.
What did I do?
You've done the double. You got it.
Oh, that's my bad. Okay, let me sort that. I'll just make sure I don't
There
do
we
that.
go.
Already seen it.
Okay, I'll get that. Okay, well,
So
I can. You've already done. That's okay. That's good. We're good. It's fine.
We're good. All right. In 8th place, and also for people, our audio listeners, and for people just not watching their screen while they play League on their third or fourth monitor, I have put V3 in 3rd place. Nymaera, who? Oh no, in 8th place.
Hey, that's like bloody hell, dude.
Jesus Christ, that's copium.
I wish.
Nymaera, who have you put 8th?
Okay, so as you can see on the screen, but for audio listeners, I've put Axes in 8th. This isn't necessarily because I think that V3 are good, because I think without Marble, they are going to struggle. I think it's more of a case that Axes, I think they're really going to struggle without all of the play pattern that they played around before. I think that they're going to really struggle without having Honey, who is absurdly good, without Hoglet. They've lost all of their leadership. Megamin is now, the last surviving member of that roster. And I don't know enough about the other players to really have much confidence in them. They're going to have to find a completely new way to play the game without the star carries, and that's rough. So for me, they're last place, for at least in the start of the split.
Hina, who have you got in last place in 8th?
Unfortunately, V3. I would love this roster to do well. Let me just put this out here. This is for a long time, I think, like in the modern LJL times at least, this is the first all Japanese team, 5 Japanese players, which is I would really want them to do well, but like the conditions they came out, like I'm more worried about the conditions because knowing the team history of V3, knowing they were kind of just like put up there from the academy because of the management. I think it wasn't necessarily put too much thought into this roster. It was more like just we're gonna make a 5 Japanese roster from the academy team. I felt like it was not necessarily lazy roster making. It was kind of like just I kind of wish they not. I'm not saying like they need Korean players to do well. I just kind of wish they put more thought into this roster and not just like, oh, we have synergy from academy. It's gonna work well in LJL as well. When that synergy came from that person who just left the team. So I kind of feel like it. The thing that made V3 strong in academy is not necessarily going to translate to LJL that well.
I'm actually going to quadruple down on what you were saying, Hina. But in actuality, what the fuck is this org doing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There is no reason that you should be doing this to a bunch of rookie players. Like this is like destined to like fuck up somehow. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's lovely. Oh. But in actuality, regarding V3, this is a horrible idea. I do not sign off on this at all. And I know you said, Hina, you don't need Korean players to do well. Well, until a team can actually prove that, and we actually have a majority of Japanese players, let's actually keep doing what DFM have done well and proven works. Import well-established talent that knows how to nurture players, bring them up through the system, and do what Aria did. Come in as a fucking no-name and then do it well. CGA figured this out like 4 years ago, V3. What the fuck? And then you lose your star player and you go, oh yeah, let's just have dress code. Poor dress code in this whole fucking situation, may I add. He's an absolutely fantastic player, but is getting put through the ringer with this one. I am so angry.
Kind of reminds me of what happened to Ryoma in the LCS.
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah, Ryoma and Poom both had similar issues. So one of the other things about V3 which really frustrates me is that they had two of the best Japanese players anyway in terms of Japanese nationals in Reiner and Cog.
Yes.
Now, they are leadership figures too. They have lots of experience. I get that you want to keep a group of players together, but there are options out there to make a full Japanese roster which is very competitive. Doing it from academy players is not necessarily the answer though. So yeah, I think that's a bit of an oversight by V3. I think that they're going to get punished for it, and there's no surprise then if I can reveal my next place up, if that's okay, Lexi, because it's
go ahead.
Very telling on it.
It's V3 Esports for me.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know why that is. Give me a moment. Oh, boom. There we go. It's back.
What's this? How do I go down? Clear formatting? How do I do this? Look, okay, well, I can't. Why is this not working?
Because you filled it in and you've highlighted.
No, it's not letting me clear the highlight as well, so I don't. Can you clear the highlighting of my 7th, please?
I can come in and help you, buddy.
Thank you.
I got you.
It's not gonna. It's not gonna show up.
And
just
then
like
I go like there. There we go.
Wow. Also, by the way, I like how Hina is currently initialized.
I'm doing that. I'm fixing that. I'm fixing it. I was hoping no one would notice.
So Sherlock caught us out in chat. So congrats for being initialized for like the last 10 minutes.
You've been doing NLC and this. God,
let's go
crazy.
Woo.
But you've put V3 Esports in. I know you're Lonely Hikamori again. V3 Esports. So I must understand then, Nymaera. Why do you think the parts of Axis are worse than the parts of V3?
It's not about the parts. I actually do think Axis have better parts. It's just they're cobbling together look, not awful players, but they're cobbling together whatever players at this level. Whereas Axis are putting together less good players, but at least they have the same system that they were playing around before. Replacing an AD carry is a lot easier than any other role in the game, I would say, as much as Marble was so crazy, and you're not going to have that same level of hyper carry. as a role, fundamentally, AD carry is easier to replace. Now, I do think that V3 would have been maybe even top 4 with Marble in, maybe getting around 4th, 5th. That's why I had to dunk them down a couple of places, because they were likely going to be bottom of the table without that star player. But at least with V3, they're keeping together some of the chemistry that's very important in the current meta.
Well, I think I completely agree with you, apart from I think the parts are just going to work slightly better because
yeah, there is that argument.
I'll be honest with you, mate. I think your argument is completely sound. Like, I actually think you're sound in your argument. For me, Marble was what made that team in Academy. He was the kingmaker, if to use a lack of a better term. None of the rest of the players on that team lit me on fire. None of them even remotely kind of hit me like I was like, oh my god, like these players are really good. Half of the games for V3 Esports in Academy was just, oh, Marbles popped off, and as such, they can just focus on 2 solo lanes. Like, it's amazing when your jungler only has to look at half the map, how you just win most of your games. But I'm putting Axis 7th. I think they're just going to be a little bit better. Hina, coming over to you. What do you think's going to be happening?
I'm going to reveal.
Go on.
Or you? I'm not there.
Hey!
Yeah. Okay, all right. So we're kind of on agreement with the bottom 2 teams. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, both teams are like, it's just kind of hard for me because I know, not personally necessarily, but I know these players. Axis top laner, such a funny guy. I love his streams.
Yeah.
Such a funny guy. But it's like, at the same time, if you guys don't know, check out the Twitter. We have been making these team rundown videos recently, and Axis was already in there. And when I had to search, like, just to find any match from a certain player, it was, I think, like both the new players, I had to find, like, on Africa TV, a hidden academy match from LCK. I'm not saying they can't be good, but there are some insane players. Like, if you think about, like, Bo, for example, last year in LPL, if you guys have seen LPL.
Oh, I mean,
guy was like,
Berserker.
or Berserker, yeah, just like coming up and insane immediately. It can happen for sure, but there's just so much variance, like such a big variable there that I can't really just like put them anywhere above. I would love if they like do well. I would love if the players are doing well. It's just that I think it's especially in spring. Maybe it's gonna be different in summer. Especially in spring, I think these like new players who haven't really played in like a big stage yet, coming from like third or lower tiers. I think these players are not gonna work out immediately because we have seen this more than just like immediately working out. But they can be good for summer. So I'm saying it can get better for summer. Just I think right now it's about this position.
So we'll have to come back for your power rankings in summer split. Even if you're not on the podcast, we're going to have to grab them from you to see if
I can promise it's going to be different in summer. I'm super sure it's going to be different in summer.
Well, I mean, let's see if Axis can reignite the exact same season from 2021. Bad 2020, bad spring, phenomenal summer. That's what you want to have. Hina, I'm actually going to come back.
That was similar, by the way. That was similar, by the way. Rookie is just like not really working out in the beginning and then just.
But the difference is they didn't have Hoglet or Honey. And that's where I think it's going to be different.
Maybe
Hina,
they're going to be the new ones.
Hina, can you reveal to me your 6th place team, please?
It hurts. It hurts. It hurts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I was thinking about this a lot. Joking aside, I really like Yuhi, but he's not the reason my idea was that they're gonna make playoffs. So that was just like in my head that they're gonna make playoffs, and among like the playoff teams, I thought they were like maybe the lowest ones, and I would be happy if they do better. But it just I feel like for first of all, the 2 new players, Flawless and Ice, they are insane. I'm not expecting you to just like probably most people who are watching and listening to this podcast. I don't think most people have seen Flawless play. maybe like this in the LPL, but in the LCK he wasn't. Like, he was playing in the Challengers League, but he's insane. That guy is insane. I think he was playing super well, and by the way, comes with him Dice, who's his teammate. So there's gonna be like or that
They
jungle
have
miss synergy.
three new players, right?
Uh,
Don't they have
sorry, I meant new
Fujimoto as
player as
well?
like I'm a new player as like imports. Oops.
Right,
But
gotcha. Yes,
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah.
I just assumed you were saying 3 new players and you were only interested in these 2. And I was like, oh, that's fair. That's fair. We can do casual flaming on Burning Core. We're
But
used to that.
that goes well into why I think there are stakes. Is because Fujimoto has been on DFM Academy, which is like very prestigious place to be in. Like you can learn from Gang at that time.
And he was
That's a
one of the
very
better
good.
players. He was
Yeah,
one of the better players on DFM Academy.
that's a very good place to be in.
Mm.
And but still, once they're gonna have this little asterisk in my mind that that's Academy, and that's gonna be a
Yeah.
next step.
Yeah. They've also retained Yuhi.
That's why they're a playoff team.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Nymaera, who's your 6th place team?
Time to remember. Well, that's not very helpful
Oh,
either.
that's a long
Okay,
name.
let me get
That's
rid of
long.
that. That is.
Oh.
It's not Burning Core. It's Crest Gaming Act. So, this obviously means that Burning Core are above them somewhere.
Oh.
So I
For
have
what a
to
weird
explain
episode.
for whatever reason that is. So Crest Gaming Act replaced. So they removed. So Nation's no longer on the roster. They still have Cassin. They still have Nat as their top side. They have
Yep.
Kaito in the mid lane, and their bot lane is now Hybrid and Nemo.
Yes.
Now, thinking through that roster again, maybe I should have put them a little higher, but I think that.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I should have put them a little higher, but I've put this on the list now, so I'm going to stick with it. My worry about CGA is that I still don't know if they're going to have that great early laning phase. I know that Kaito was really hot and cold, and mostly cold when we saw him. He was
Yes.
over aggressive on Zoe, even though he made some really big damage numbers every once in a while when he hit some stuff. I don't know if he's ready for this level of competition quite yet. Getting rid of Nation removed a lot of their teeth because he was the big playmaker. This is going to be almost entirely around early game bot lane because Nap is not an early game top laner either. And I feel like CJ are going to struggle a bit. I think that Nemo does at least have some ability to keep playing with hyper carries, which is his preferred style. But I'm quite afraid for Nemo not playing with the same level as leadership as he did on Axis with Hoglet and Honey. There are a lot of what ifs for me with this team. They could end up being, they could peak at 3rd, I reckon, if Kaito really finds a stable champion pool and everyone else performs at their peak. I don't think that's likely. I think they could be anywhere between, they're likely going to be 6th or 5th. I think they'll sneak into playoffs. But when I get around to talking about my Burning Core placement, I'll explain why I think they're a little higher, actually. But on the whole, CGA, bottom end of playoffs seems like the right end to put them.
And I'm going to double down with you, mate. Honestly, I actually think like CGA is probably the 6th place team. Like I actually think they are the team which Axis or V3 could steal from. Like I'm very like honest with this feeling because CGA they have the potential to be like honestly insane, but Nap is shown to be consistent but not the best. Kaito, I don't trust him as far as I can throw
He
him.
plays Zoe pretty okay. Everything else is a liability, I think.
Yeah, and that was recent memory. It's not like it was a year ago memory where I can go, nah,
Last
clean
split.
skate. Literally, and it was in playoffs. Like, it was very recent memory, and you're not going to get that good mechanically in that short of a time frame. It's a bit of a difference if you're role swapping. You get a bit more benefit of the doubt. When that's your main role, not great. I think Kassin could be that like make or break factor for them, honestly, because he is taking the role of honestly being either the player that pops off and kind of does that spiritual aria sort of thing for CGA, or it's just not going to work. And I think Hybrid's a perfectly fine player, but I've just not seen enough tape on him to make a concrete estimate. If he's going to be good, he's got to be insane. Like we're talking.
Oh no, I just revealed everything on stream. Oops, I did not realize I did that.
That's all right.
That's okay. No one saw it.
But hybrid has to be an insane player, and like so insane that he's gapping Utapon and Honey, which I just don't see happening. So I just don't think there's going to be an edge there. CJ on my 6th place team, and I'm actually going to keep going talking here. It's my turn, and I've put Burning Core at 5th place because I think Burning Core have better players in specific roles which can benefit the longevity of the team throughout a regular long season, especially in a triple round robin. I think Burning Core, like, honestly,
that's true. It's triple now. I forgot about that.
Dicey and Ray Farkey, if you just forget about your bot side, there's a good chance Burning Core can just win through brute force top lane style. And if Yuhi and Fujimoto can play weak side, I think there's a decent chance for them to do it. That's why they're my 5th place team.
So I'm gonna join you quickly on that, so I can quickly talk about them as well.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. I think that Flawless and Fujimoto is a good jungle support duo. I think that's really important right now. If you look at the top LEC teams, all playing through jungle support, it's really, really important wrangling control of the map, jungle tracking, blah, blah, blah. I think that their top side is actually pretty solid from Burning Core for the first time in a little while. They are a bit of a question mark, as Brackish has put it in chat. Hi there, how you doing? But then most of these teams are quite question marky. I feel like Ray Farkey and Flawless, though, are less question marky for me. That gives you a really solid like top side to play off, and hopefully Flawless doesn't pull a once and kind of not play around less stable lanes and find a way for Ray Farkey to actually become that 2020 hypercarry he was from the top side.
We agree, right? Now I'm interested in the other person on this.
Hey, Hina.
Hina,
How you
who
doing
have you
over
got
there?
in 5th, huh? Who you got in 5th, huh?
I am sorry.
Oh, what?
Whoa!
Oh, what?
All right, for the listeners out there. Hina.
Well, I forgot. I actually lost it to Sengoku Gaming. Oh, this kind of like this. Sengoku.
Okay, explain yourself. You need to explain yourself here.
Yeah, this one is going to need to take some work.
Yeah. So, first of all, Honey probably gonna do super well.
Yeah.
That side, I have no problems with that side. Honey is gonna do well. Obviously, Anti was also kind of like middle, I would say, last year. Maybe even like I mean, he wasn't bad by any means, and that's fine. Also, the reason they're just 5th is because when I was ranking the teams, I found 4 that I have more trust in. Like that's kind of, I don't think they're bad by any means. I just found 4 I think gonna be better. And
Okay.
I can talk about this later. It's just like, oh sorry. So I don't have a problem with any of the players. Obviously, I just think like they have Jet now in the middle lane, who is was kind of like question mark for me. It's obviously like a new region. What you have seen from him, he was by the way already kind of like feeling out in Japanese, which is not an indication of like a knowledge of a language, but from what I have seen, he was like trying to interact with everyone and just like trying to learn the language, communicate, and all those stuffs. But still, it's like one of the players that I'm like, maybe they can pop off, maybe not. There's a lot of question marks. I mean, for all the rosters, actually, not just Sangoku. And why I think they're not gonna do that well is because I don't know, it's just like none of the players are like, other than Honey, obviously, but none of the players are the ones when I feel like, all right, now this person is gonna do super well. And but Honey could, and even Honey, like I'm just thinking like last year when there was like obviously Honey had Nemo. Now that roster was pretty stacked, and even there were 2 better teams than then. And I'm kind of like feeling some kind of parallel with, like, in my opinion, a little bit verse support. and I'm probably a verse jungler. So if I'm like putting this in parallel of what happened last year, and I'm gonna talk about DFM later, but I don't think DFM and Rascadress are necessarily super downgraded in any ways. I'm gonna talk
You
about
don't
later.
think DFM downgraded? That's
Okay. Well,
No,
we won't
we will
I'm
talk
continue
about
to.
that later.
Whoa.
relatively.
I'm gonna just draw a line here.
We'll
So
talk about that later.
I'm not saying they're bad. From here on, I think all the teams, like all the playoff teams, I think are really good.
Yeah.
It's just like I found 4 better, in my
I
opinion.
I actually
Gotcha.
think that's a very fair place to put it because
Mm.
I think there are only about 5 really good playoff teams, and then I think there's an open spot.
Yeah,
So you.
fifth, sixth is a bit. But
What
then
about you?
top
So
4 are solid, actually.
yes, I would agree. I'm just interested to find out your reasoning for CGA. Honestly, that's what I'm intrigued on.
Is this a
Um,
question?
Yeah.
it will be once you reveal which one yours is. Nymaera,
Gotcha.
can you give me your 4th place team?
So my 4th place is Sengoku.
Okay.
That was for me. I look at that bot lane of Honey and Enti, and I'm like, well, that's a super hard win lane game.
Yep.
Because Enti was always a very good laning support. Honey was always a very good hyper carry, AD carry. That's a met recipe for success. I'm worried about Paz. I think that Paz is still kind of I think that he's in the scene and he's okay with LJL because there aren't that many great punishing top laners. If this team went international by any means, I think they'd really
We've
struggle because I
already
think they'd
seen
lose
that,
people
man.
for it.
I don't want to
Yeah,
see the
exactly.
replay of that, please.
Yeah, exactly. So effectively, Paz for me is a limiting factor for them. I think he's fine in team fights. I think he's okay on side lanes. His laning phase is a bit meh. I think that Jet is at the end of the day, he's a Korean mid. He has some pedigree. He's playing alongside Once, who is very aggressive and will play alongside winning lanes very well. And I think that having bot side being in a solid state, I think Jet potentially changing the order of things in the mid lane too, gives Once a good platform to play off of. So I think that Sengoku are going to be more reliable than the teams below them. I think that's the real big factor for me. I think that all of the teams below them, I have some inconsistency worries with. Paz, for all his faults, is fairly consistent. And I think that Once will actually have, for the first time in the longest time, a stable map to play around, and that's quite important for him.
It's been a while since he's had a vaguely stable map.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't actually remember when he last had one. Hina,
A while ago.
who is your 4th place team?
If this isn't CGA,
I'm gonna
be.
I'm not that crazy. I'm not that crazy.
You're good. Just checking. Just checking.
So now it's like a little bit easier to talk about this because like Sengoku was like one of those teams in like, and I think like it's like kind of true for most power rankings. Like the middle team is like the hardest to describe why you put it there because usually that's the one that's like I know that
Yeah.
like I can explain the top
It's
ones,
like
I can
they're not
explain the
as good
bottom
as
ones.
these, and they're not as
Yeah,
bad
but
as
it's like
these.
what remained, and that's the middle one. It's just kind of like that for me. But like Nikon person, like I think it's like why I put CJ above Sengoku. Now, Nemo.
Yep. He's a good player.
That's it. No,
That was a
for
good
real.
play.
But for real, I'm actually having kind of I think Hybrid is gonna be not the best AD carry, but I think he's gonna do well, especially with Nemo. If Nemo can keep his form, and it's very very hard to rate like supports and ball laners sometimes because there are those players like Marble, when he's probably gonna be good with most supports, like, but it's not just like a probable. There's always like a little factor of what happens. It's kind of like true for mid laners as well. Like sometimes there's like a mid laner who you think that's insane, and you put a different jungler there, and it's just like plays entirely differently. So I always have like this little thought that what if Honey is probably a great player, but when you like split up a very good, like very well working pairing in the ball, and it's always going to be a question if how are they going to adapt to the new one. But with that being said, I think Nemo is a great player, but actually one of my favorite players in the league in general. So that maybe made my list a little bit biased. But in general, I think like Sengoku, CJ, and BC is like, at least from what I see from Nymaera, I'm not sure what Lex
They're
is
pretty interchangeable.
fourth.
Yeah.
It's like I think like it's definitely shows on our list as well. So far, there are like 2 batches. There is like the bottom batch and there is a middle batch.
Well, I'll finish out this middle batch, I think.
Is it gonna be
very
CJ?
quickly. It's gonna be Sengoku. It's going to be Sengoku game.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And
so I mean, I think what we're all agreed on is like it's playoffs or not playoffs, or top 3 or not top 3. Dice roll between them.
Yes, and my
He's
reasoning.
on Burning Core.
My reasoning for Sengoku is very much echoes the same kind of stuff that both of you were talking about, really. Hina, where you were saying obviously you think the bot lane. Well, actually, Nymaera, you really went into the bot lane. Honey, NT. I mean, NT is like the top 3 playoff king until he didn't make it that one season. Like that's the crazy thing. He was the top 3 playoffs maker if you weren't in DFM. Honey, obviously MVP. Probably it's actually kind of been crazy we get another season with him. I'll be completely frank with everybody. I honestly thought he was going to disappear. He was far better than Hoglet, but I think I'm just speculating here. If it's not LCK, Honey might not be interested, so that might be why. I think Jet and Once could be great, but it is that top side. It's that Paz that but with all 3 of us have mentioned, we think the bot lane's fine. We're just so worried about the rest of the map.
Yep.
We forgot about some. I just remember. We forgot about something. Now there is a Janna. Who cares about top lane? Just pick Janna.
No
you're actually right. That could
There's
actually
no Cog. If it was Paz, Cog over Paz. Paz would do it,
Paz
wouldn't
might
he?
still do it. Paz might do it still.
Pain.
I mean, it's not going to make them be top 3, but it'll be fun.
All right, well, I'm going to talk about my top 3 because I think let's get into some better territory. And I'm going Mad Lad territory. Rascal Jesters are going to be my 3rd place team. Yeah, I actually think this team downgraded. Yeah, I'm sorry, I know. I actually think you're a sick player, but I am that fucking high on, like, Kinatu Copium at the moment. Like, I think they're a great team.
You really are, yeah.
Like, of course I am. Of course I am. I saw this guy in scouting grounds and I just hooked myself to that thing since I scouted him, and I've just been riding it the whole way. I think Rascal Jester are a phenomenal team. My issue is, I think Hachimecha and Recap, they're the 2 players. It's actually not Ino. I think Ino is actually like probably the 3rd best player on that team now. It actually comes down to Hachimecha and Recap, who both were players of seen of weak points in some series, especially against better and more prime talent that's just peaking at the right times. I also think the mid lane and jungle pool is going to be really competitive coming into this season. More competitive than we saw over the last year.
Yeah.
So I think Recap might get gapped a lot more. The other 2 teams I've not talked about, I think their mid-jungle duos are better. That's why they had to be 3rd. Coming to you, Nymaera. Who's your 3rd place team?
Mine's the Hawks.
Okay, fair.
So, like, this was always gonna, like, the top 3 are always gonna be a bit controversial because all of them are really good. It's just effectively tunneling onto one bit of reasoning and hoping that reasoning works out. So for me, for the Hawks, I kind of said it at the start of the show when we were talking about when the roster was revealed. I think the Hawks could be first. For me, this is also kind of like coming into the start of the split, coming into mid-split, right? It's not like end of playoffs. This is not exactly who I'm expecting to win the split overall. I do think the Hawks could have some meshing issues. I think there's a chance that they are combining too many cooks with not enough broth, and they could explode a bit. I don't think they're going to explode enough to the point where their players are just like horribly losing lane against everyone else below them. I think that they're still going to be a decent team. I think that they might not have the cohesiveness to take the teams above them, though.
Fair enough. Hina, who is your 3rd place team?
And
it's going to be DFM, isn't it? Just to round it out.
No, I thought it's going to be a controversial take, but I guess not. I thought it's going to be controversial at first, but it's kind of like almost the same reasoning. There are like some other, like some points that may be different. Just coming from the part that, like, from the leaks, and from like whatever happened behind the scenes, this roster was basically confirmed like 3 days ago.
But it was rumored for like a month ago.
Yes, but we like
It means
behind
they
the
might
scenes,
not have been having scrims and stuff though.
the Hawks. I mean, it is like known for the team members like 3 days ago that this is gonna be the roster, but like from what I know, the Hawks had to fight for Marble for the very last second. It was a very hard, just like legal battle, just like contract legal battle,
Right.
and I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't played together, just like maybe like a few scrim days, but it's not much for sure. And while they have like really good players, like individually really good players, like Kinetu and Marble, probably the new LJL players,
They're the
probably
new
the two
blood,
best
yeah.
new LJL players. I think that's not even a question.
Yep.
From just like the really new ones.
The thing is, Ino and Nemo, they had that rookie spring, but that summer performance was just chef's kiss. Like they have to, we can't actually disregard that summer split. Like if you compare the two seasons,
I agree with that. That's a good point.
Like that's true. But what I meant like is just like but they had like such a big breakthrough year last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
well, Konatu made back-to-back finals as a rookie.
Yeah. And just like
he didn't make the first one in spring. That was V3.
It really
He made top 3.
He made top 3 back-to-back.
Okay, all right. My bad.
Thank you, Nymaera. It's like just from because of the like past teams. Whenever I hear the term super team, I'm just like because I'm actually not even sure if any super team in the world has ever worked out besides G2.
DFM literally did what we wanted them to do.
So DFM, there was the KT super team which did pretty well eventually, but even then they had some teething pains.
And DFM wasn't just like let's put together a super team. It was like we had a really good core and just like fill it with the best players basically.
Yeah.
Well, this is just like bring here the.
You could argue that the Team Liquid ones were okay, but then they kind of struggle internationally. That's a big topic, but yeah.
Yeah, just like
any team with Faker. Faker.
This one.
Not season 8. Not season 8. But everything else.
Faker wasn't always there for that season, if I remember my history rightly.
That's a very good point, actually.
So not that there, but Hina, to end up your Hawks point.
Yeah, basically just like a very good team, and that's where they're in the top 3. I can see them doing super well. It just there is always this like little thing in my mind whenever it comes to super teams, and whenever you pull 5 good players together, there's gonna be a question of ego, there's gonna be a question of synergy, there's gonna be so many questions, not even talking about the fact that what if Blank can't even make it to Japan, like how are that remote thing is gonna work out? Obviously in remote you can't really gel together with the team as much.
I'm just gonna stop you there because that's a thing every team's gonna have to fight with potentially.
Well, not
but whenever there's like
true. Yeah.
But like basically every team, yes. But whenever all the members are new, like just little pieces, there's like if there's not a core, just like one player, I think it's gonna be so much harder.
So just to recap, I believe it's just like the new imports are struggling to get new visas, like first-time visas. So if they're like if they were playing before in the LJL, it's
for example, RJ has their full roster.
Yeah, and I mean the Hawks are only going to be missing Blank. But let's actually get on to second place. Who wants to go first? I'll go first, as I already showed my one.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen who have listened to the podcast for a very fucking long time know where I'm going with this train. I have put DFM as my second place team. I am not going to go any further, and I'm going to ask Hina to show your second place team. Please do not go any further outside of announcing your second place team.
I didn't set up this team as Nymaera. I have a feeling.
Okay, very good. Who have you put there?
Hina, who did you put second, just for the audio listeners?
Oh, sorry, Ross Colchester.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to know my second place, Lexi?
Please, yes.
Oh my god, it's
my second place is DFM.
Oh.
So we actually have all different top 3s
Yeah.
for process of elimination.
All different
wanted
first,
this.
by the way.
I wanted this.
We have all different first.
Would you like to wait? We know by process of elimination who's first. What do you want to do? Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about second and then go first? Let's go talk about second.
Let's
talk
go
about
second.
We have to give second place. It's fair and just.
Yeah.
Well, Nymaera, we've both gone DFM, and I've got technical issues. So can you please begin us?
Okay, so yeah, I put DFM. Now they did announce that they have kept Steel and Ebby and Utapon. That is a terrifyingly good roster. That is not saying that this team is a bad team. Now, bringing in 2 new Koreans in Yahrong and Harp potentially has some issues with, as Hina's been alluding to, and the rest of this, potentially some visa issues, blah, blah, blah. However, bringing in any new players in pivotal roles like support, mid lane is less important in a macro sense, but support very much is. Can be very difficult to work into a team. DFM also lost Coach Yang, which is very important to them. Yang, I believe, did a lot of work for Axes in their best years as well, actually. In some of their splits in
summer
2020, blah blah.
Yeah.
Spring 2020 was the one they did the Miracle Run. Anyway, yeah. So Yang has been quite impactful for them. He's ended up leaving to go to the LLA for another deal there. But yeah, DFM have, because they've replaced 2 members of this crazy lineup, the Exodia, that they had, they are going to have some extra settling periods, which I do not believe will be the case for the other team, which I've put in first, but we'll get to them later.
Hina, I'm going to just echo everything that Nymaera said. Speaks basically exactly from my point of view. I also just think it's a bit of a downgrade in the mid lane, and I think my first place team have an edge in the mid lane, but I'm just gonna say that. Rascal Jester, second place. You've put them 1 place above me. I think that's not crazy. Hina, why have you put them there?
Basically, once again, I think like obviously you can guess, but I think DFM and RJ are gonna be the top teams, and I think they're gonna be the solid top 2 teams. I think it's gonna be like a situation like last year when those 2 teams are gonna be kind of like not necessarily like super above. Like I'm not sure like how like what the score is gonna be. I think they're gonna be like consistently on the top. Why I think it is because RJ may have lost their like superstar rookie top laner. But looking at the meta right now, unless Riot changes something like drastically, and once again I'm talking about Spring in this ranking, unless Riot changes something, I think there's gonna be like jungle mid synergy is gonna be super important. Obviously, like just the team synergy in general is gonna be super important, and I feel like top laners right now at least are somewhat replaceable. Not necessarily to the same level, like same level as like skill level. It's just like I don't think the team synergism like or like the macro plays, for example, not gonna suffer as much. And Archie is like I think a really good team. I felt like they always lacked that little oomph, just like what put them like the DFM category, that team. They always lack that one. But that's a very solid roster. They have been showing again and again that they are there. They even defeat DFM last year, the Exodia DFM.
Okay. Well, I think then I should ask Nymaera to double down to a degree with you. And sir, can you please reveal your first place team?
So
Join the
put Rascal
conversation.
Jester as my first place team. I
Yeah.
have. So by process elimination with all that other stuff. So Rascal Jester, so I've talked about this on previous podcasts as well. So if you want like me talking the same stuff on a different day, I guess you can go watch those previous podcast episodes. Rascal Jester had a great thing going last year. I think that their bot lane was very interesting to watch. I think Sol and Secret are one of the few bot lanes that will really play make and catch people as a 2-person unit during transition plays between objectives and lanes and blah blah blah. Sol and Secret are really interesting to watch, and that's without taking into account how kind of balanced the rest of the map is too. They don't necessarily have star power on the top side of the map anymore, but I think Ino is a really good stylistic pick for the team, even though it individually might be a bit of a downgrade, as Lexi's doing stuff with that camera. I think Ino is more than fine to just be put on a gangplank, be put on an Ornn, something like that, a Renekton, whatever you name it, and just scale up to a mid-game fight, stave off pressure on the top side, and allow Secret and Sol to absolutely pop off. I think that they will have retained more of their style than any other team in the league, and it was a damn good style. They don't have to play against an Arya this time. They don't have to play against a gang this time. And I think that other teams are going to lack some of that critical firepower to take them out. And I think that Rascal Jester, by process of elimination of some of the best players in the league leaving, have been left at the top of the tree.
Okay. Okay. Hina, I think it makes more sense for you to say your first place team.
I think once again, after total domination last year, it's gonna be DFM. Why?
Yes.
Why? If I'm just like I'm talking about LCS so much now, like in this podcast, but if you look at
It's a fun
LCS,
region to watch. I screw the haters. It's a fun region.
there are these organizations like same color C9. There are these organizations that like has such a good infrastructure even before the LS area now. Like they always like put up some just some fight. They were always there internationally because they had the core, the coaching stuff. They were just like the organization itself was just like so good that they always performed. And I have like kind of the same feeling with DFM. First of all, they kept their core, like the original core, the top jungle and the ball lane. It's still there. Probably the best, I would say. Especially now Hoglet is not in LJL. Maybe Flawless is going to be better than Steel, but like you can argue for this position as being the best in the league. And obviously, the most important about the new players. A few days ago, Evie tweeted out that apparently, actually, Yaharong has a really good Japanese. I have not watched the fan meet.
That's pretty
I
important,
just heard a
actually.
little.
That's pretty
I
important.
just heard a little. He was talking just conversation level. But Evie tweeted out Yaron has a really good Japanese because he was watching a lot of Attack on Titan.
Yes, I remember you telling me this. Oh.
Oh, man.
The communication is already fluent in Japanese, they're gonna jump. But for real, I think that the two new players are the ones who are wasn't necessarily like the superstar players or like anyone who could like have just been there. But I don't even think they really had like a chance to show it to everyone. They were always like in bottom
No,
teams.
I've heard good things about Yaharong from Chronicler and the LCK crew as well. They're big fans. So he was just kind of stuck behind. He was stuck behind lava. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Lexi, you have gone to space.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm switching webcams.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's funky.
All right.
But yeah,
well,
so I have a feeling that these new players also just looking at them, they're really fun. Just from like that super small like little parts and conversations that I've seen from them, they're really fun. I'm gonna feel like especially Yaharong is like also got the sexy boy. I'm pretty sure he's gonna gel super well with the team. He's gonna be probably a part of it. You're probably gonna talk with them a lot, which is really, it's actually really. I think that's super important for like the good teams. If you're a bad team, you can be the best friends. I'm not sure it's gonna help you too much, but I think like for the top teams, being actually friends, just like doing outside the game stuff with your teammates, I think that's super
really
important. And because of that, obviously, just like with every team, that's why I said that like yeah, there are question marks as well. Sure, every team has some question marks.
But the more I think about it, the more like particularly because the current meta favors laning phase as well. Just having Ebby on your team is going to be disgusting. This is actually going to be a very interesting split. As much as like I say that because I want to hype up the region as well. This is stylistically going to be a weird split to watch in terms of can you win just through lane? Does that mean that DFM are just going to de facto win? Does that mean another team, which Lexi might want to talk about, can beat them in that regard? What's going to happen with this? This is actually very open door.
And also just history showed us, even when they have literally a coach playing as a support, they can still beat the region. They can still go up against Hina.
Auto-filled support, beat the LJL, let's go.
Well, they might have two substitutes available at any moment for the mid and support role. at any moment that they need them of the Emperor. And thank you, Kazu. That's all Kazu is to me now. He's just thank you, Kazu. But I think you're both deluded and wrong with your first place picks. And let me tell you why the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming are going to be the first place team. One, they have the MVP rookie of the split of Kunatsu, the only player that was really solo killing Ebby and pushing him to his limits. Yes, I know there were other people, but let me have my moment, Nymaera. He's not in the league anymore. I don't have to worry about Cog anymore. It's just Kunatsu and Ebby now. That's all I have to worry about. He's better than everybody else. Yes, I'm that much on Copium. Blank is back. Blank, we've already mentioned before, Boogie and Steel were the only people that really rivaled him. Yeah, Once is in a better spot now, but nah, Blank is back and he was always just insanely cracked. But guess what? It's even better. They've got Dasher, who was only rivaled by Aria. Only Aria.
Yeah.
So
Dasher is very good, actually. Dasher is very, very good.
He's cracked, mate. He's actually cracked. But I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I know, ladies and gentlemen, I have said a lot already. Let me explain why. This team is about to go to the fucking moon in stock. And you want to get your ticket here, ladies and gentlemen. Marble and Reiner. A Japanese bot lane, but the best bot lane in LJL history has been Yutapong and Gang. It's always been a Japanese and Korean, and then you have a Japanese jungle, or you have to have a Japanese support and a Korean jungle. It's always how it works. Two Koreans like DFM. No, you don't. Reiner already went to Worlds with Boogie. He already has done this as a player, and he knows how to do this. Blank isn't coming into this region as well, knowing that he's going to have to speak Japanese and is coming in, learning it for the first time. He's already done a split and a half. Like, that's the crazy thing. He's coming in for his 4th split. Because remember, he did half a split on Sengoku beforehand. Reiner is cracked. And to end me out, Marble is the future of the LJL with Kunatsu. And the fact that they're together... Oh, I'm so happy about it, ladies and gentlemen. They're making first place. And yes, this is a similar script to what I said when Honey was on this team. But didn't quite work that way because when the Hawks did this last time, they kind of didn't make playoffs. So hopefully they'll do it this
in the background talking about how quick his breaks are. Sorry, I missed most of that last bit.
Oh, that's fine, mate. I just was mentioning how Marble and Kunatsu are the future of the LJL.
No, you're not wrong. You're really not wrong. I have to say, the Hawks, as much as I put them in 3rd for this split, and they might end up 3rd in this split.
Oh, they probably will.
I reckon they could go to Worlds. I reckon they could go to Worlds. It depends. It's a lot. There's a lot that's got to change, but yeah, I mean, the potential of this roster is through the roof. I think that if Kunatsu can...
Law is also fucking in 6th place.
I think that they could explode. They could explode all the way down to bottom of the playoffs. Which is, funnily enough, how they came into the league, actually.
Yeah.
Because the Hawks' first roster, we thought, wow, they could be 2nd or 3rd, and then they kind of just capitulated.
Who was nowhere near as good as Reiner, turns out.
Yeah. There was that, and then Honey wasn't good at that point. He was still warming up. But I think that if Reiner recovers, if Marble is really, really good again on a higher level stage, I mean, you've got Dasher, who just needs to keep doing what he was doing. He's incredible. Blank needs to slot into the team atmosphere. Kunatsu needs to, again, kind of have his Spring performance over his Summer one, because Spring was a bit more laning dominant, all this other stuff. That's a solid team. That's a really solid team. So yeah, I can, the top 3 are definitely top 3. All after that point is speculating what form everyone's going to be on for me.
And also just help your case a little. Also, there's Tussle in the coach position.
Yeah,
all the host members, by the way, fluent in Japanese. I mean, maybe not fluent for Blank, but he knows Japanese. Yes. There's not going to be communication issues.
No,
just
there
have
won't
your
be. Yeah, no, and I think that's a really important one, because that is typically something when you have an import coming in, especially to a region like the LJL, where it is speak Japanese or you're going to struggle. And we've seen teams have that issue.
Yeah.
So I think that's a damn good point. Blank is coming in and isn't going to have that. I mean, Tussle and everything. Yeah, I mean the Hawks, as Nymaera said, have one of the highest ceilings of potential. But then, as I rightly pointed out, they could also just be a sixth place playoff team that go 0-3 in spring, and it could be that sad. They'll make playoffs. Don't get me wrong; they're still better than Axis and V3 in my head. Jesus Christ, if they're
Yeah,
seventh,
I can't see them losing to Axis V3. I mean, unless V3's macro is really clean, even without a star player.
or if Swamp
I
and
don't know.
Sanga-chan,
Sang-chu. Yeah.
What?
Did you say Sanga-chan?
Yeah, I did. Anyway, I'm gonna move on from that. My pronunciation.
Moving swiftly onwards.
Swiftly on. I mean, I think Swan Axis could make playoffs if someone like Hawks completely blow up, just because Axis might have just two Korean good players and just kind of float on that. But Hawks have got to blow up worse than we've ever seen.
But what I love about all three of our lists is actually we have very little overlap with actual role.
That's what I mean. There are three batches: the bottom, the middle, and the top. And I thought I'm gonna be controversial.
Okay, so let's. I mean, we're kind of coming up to an hour and a half, so we need to not go too long. But
No.
I'm really interested in your takes, both of you, about how close these two groups are, because I think that actually Sengoku on a good day and Hawks on a bad day are obviously quite close. I don't know if the bottom teams and then the mid teams are that close though.
There is something to consider. It's a triple round robin now. There's gonna be a lot of matches.
A lot of games.
The difference is gonna be higher, and I think actually these three groups are. At first I was there can't be that much of a difference but then I was wait, triple round robin? No, there is gonna be a difference.
Yeah. It means that upset victories mean so much less because one game against the flow of 21 games as opposed to 14 is not that much. So yeah, that's a good point.
But
actually.
I think
that's a
they
good point.
kept just because they kept the double animation. I think it's gonna be super important to get to the top.
It is
not just objective player, because if you're ending up in a lower bracket, it's gonna be hard. Looking at the other teams, it's gonna be super hard.
We've never had a winner outside of the top two. So we've never had a winner come through the lower bracket. We've had a finalist come through the lower
technically,
bracket.
but that is already third.
No, DFM still came through the Juggernaut match, right? So
you mean I know
what
yeah.
So by lower bracket I mean placed third to sixth. So we've never had a winner outside of the Juggernaut match. So
we've had people make it to the finals from the lower bracket.
Yes, we have. So and one of them was DFM. DFM did that. We had that with V3 in spring because it was Rascal versus DFM in the Juggernaut match. So we've had that a couple of times, but yeah, I mean, actually winning a split by sneaking to playoffs, not easy in the LJL actually. So yeah, that's a good point. Actually, those are all very good points. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, no, I'm double downing. My list is perfect. No, don't. I think those are great points, Hina. But my copium and my podcast persona have to stick with my gut. The Hawks are gonna make it this time, Nymaera. I promise you that. I said it in 2020. I was wrong. I was foolish. But I believe this time.
Good. Someone clip that, please.
I was about to say the same.
Someone clip that, please.
In other news, transitioning us over. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to ask us questions or about our copium predictions, you can join our Discord or get us over into that. No. I'm fucking around a little bit. No, in all seriousness, I think all of our tier lists are really interesting. I think we've got a lot of different points and we've covered a huge variety of stuff. And it's super interesting how much of an echo chamber I've fallen into a little bit with Nymaera. Just through our natural list, we've got a lot of just generic crossover, and our top three kind of varied how I expected it, to be honest. but we still paired DFM second. I'm glad Hina's here because it could have been we could have done this with initialize and it was just 3 of us doing the same similar lists.
Yeah, it's because we echo chamber for so long. But yeah, no, I'm glad we've had some of that stuff. Yeah, so if you got questions, obviously we've got the LJL podcast hashtag. We got the Discord. We have Twitch chat as well. But I think probably for this episode we're stretching a bit long, so that might have to be for another episode at some point. But we always want to hear from you. We always want to have topics which you're interested in, so keep that in mind.
And ladies and gentlemen,
LJL is starting in a few days.
Yes.
Let's hype.
Exactly, and that was where I was going to end us out. This Friday, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going live and covering the first 4 games at 9 a.m. Central UTC Universal something.
Yeah,
time.
UK time, not European time. Yeah.
Yes, or honestly, cut that all out. Just go to the wiki page. Whatever the first game schedule is, that's when we're going live.
We're gonna be live then, yeah.
We're gonna be live. All of our games are live now. We don't have to ask people to do the weird conversions or anything. Or we're gonna do 4 games there, and then we'll do no. Everything's gonna be live. We're gonna be covering everything. We're super excited. Bear with us for the first few weeks while we get a few of our things worked out. But I trust you. A few weeks in, we're going to have a system. It's going to be flawless, pun intended. I can't wait. Hina, thank you for coming on. Have you got anything else you'd like to say, plug, or just in general?
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. And I thought my tier list is going to be like a lot worse. I feel like confirmed. A little bit of confirmation bias. Feels good. As for plugs, just follow my Twitter. There, I'm gonna post a lot of LGS stuff probably, especially because I'm not sure if this is like what is the word for that? Like when you're like promoting a competitor, there's some word for that. I'm not sure.
It's alright.
Cross promotion. But this is the
no.
podcast.
It's like a wrong whatever. But like I'm very hyped for the official broadcast. It's gonna have an after show, which means a lot of new information, a lot of new like, exploring the personalities of the players. And the first week is gonna be I think Abby, Steel, and Utapon, and I know Hatcha and Recap, as far as I remember.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
It's gonna be pretty fun. People can send in questions as well. If anyone wants to send in a question to players, by the way, there's gonna be a lot of opportunities. Just like sending in questions on the broadcast, and they're just like gonna sit there and ask the player a question. And if your question is read out loud, you're gonna get also a gift, whatever.
That's very cool.
It's pretty cool. And if you guys wanna ask a question or anything, you can just DM me, or I don't know, Discord, Twitter. I can translate it for you and just send it in. If there's any request like this. And yeah, I'm very hyped because, as I said, I think it's gonna be a fun show, and there's gonna be a lot of information. If there is anything happening there that's funny, interesting, I'm just gonna tweet it. So make sure you check it out if you wanna see those.
Thank you.
And if you've watched any of my content before, you know what I do. I don't need to keep doing this. Hello.
No. So Nymaera,
hello.
I forgot to do this at the beginning.
Yes.
You popped a very important cherry.
Go on.
Our boy, Nymaera, did us so fucking proud. And if you were in our Discord, you would already know this. He was on the LEC as a guest analyst. Like, my dude, congratulations. Like, that was
Thank
huge.
You. It was really cool. Getting to work alongside such a talented team of people. And that's off air as well as on air as well. Everyone involved with the LEC is absolutely incredible. Yeah, it made me very emotional seeing the support from the LJL Discord and stuff. So thank you for everyone that tuned into that. And I only mentioned the LJL twice over the weekend, which I was really quite impressed with somehow.
I was watching you guys in an LC, and you just kept talking about the FM and anime.
Yeah, NLC is not spared from LEC. I just about got away with it.
One of these is slightly different from the other. Different contracts and everything, you know. But yeah, that was crazy. Myself, I'm getting back into the car. Wait, actually, between this podcast and next podcast, what am I doing? No, got nothing to announce actually. I was about to do that, and then I was
follow his Twitter. Follow his Twitter, and we'll see what happens.
Twitter. On my Twitter, also new show in the works, but that's still 2 weeks away. So just follow my Twitter. I'm doing YouTube again, but again in a few weeks.
That's really cool.
We need to start the LJL again. But with that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Peace out. Woo!
Bye-bye.